Hello, welcome to the Ginger Geek Show. So a bit of a sequel to a previous video that I made of the X-Men MCU fancast that I done. And this is now going to be the Fantastic Four version of my fancast and just who I would like to see in that movie. And before I kind of begin, it's going to be more, I want to talk about obviously the cast and maybe kind of certain things I'd like to see in the first movie, and obviously I would imagine main movies after that. So I'm going to talk about, not just cast necessarily in the first movie. I also want to talk about after credit scenes I would like to see as well, and a couple other tidbits when we get to that. So yes, that's obviously talk about the big four of the Fantastic Four. Probably the hardest bit of casting for obviously the movie. What I want to see precisely also talk about the movie is I just want to see a right big fun space adventure. I don't want to see, I don't like the, in the reboot that they done, that they went all dark and all that. That wasn't Fantastic Four to me. Fantastic Four is probably the most colourful comics you can find in any comic book, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse Comics, any of them. It's Fantastic Four is probably the most colourful one out of them all, and I thought that was just a disheartening to it, really, that reboot. So yes, that's the tone very much so I want to see in the new Fantastic Four. Very much light, very much just fun space travel, and adventures. That's the type of stuff I want to see. So yes, as I say, let's talk about obviously the main cast. Now, first of all, let's talk about Mr. Fantastic, the leader of the Fantastic Four. An actor, for me, he's one of my favourites. I love him very much so. He's also my favourite Doctor in Doctor Who, and that is of Matt Smith. I think he would do a fantastic job as Mr. Fantastic. He is just perfect for this role. I hope Marvel goes for a kind of actor like this. They don't go for, a good example was Fantastic Beasts. Matt Smith auditioned for it, but they went for the guy who won the Oscar of that year, and that was obviously Eddie Redmayne. And I think that was a shame. I think Matt Smith would be a natural fit for that character in Fantastic Beasts, but here very much so with Mr. Fantastic. I think he is just perfect. He's also the right age as well. I think they could have him for quite, wee well as well. And I think he would do just an overall fantastic job, no pun intended, for this kind of role. And obviously onto his second in command, I guess you could almost say. He's his wife in the future of Invisible Woman. For me, this is a role where I think they've miscasted so many times, really. Jessica Alba was one of the worst, really. That was a good example of they just went, who's hot at the moment? Oh, Jessica Alba. That doesn't cut it for me. The person I've got here of Carey Mulligan is just ideal role for Invisible Woman for me. It's more on the acting side. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think she looks pretty spot on, actually, to be honest, especially obviously when she has blonde hair. She looks pretty spot on as Invisible Woman, but she is just one of those kind of actresses where I think she's very underrated. First off, I don't think she gets the credit she deserves, if I'm honest. But I think she's good at playing the kind of that kind of role where she's quite believable, very much of being someone who's smart. And we've had many cases like the past where you think that's an easy job, but it turns out it's not so the case. And I think her and Matt Smith, would really gel well together there. And obviously next would be the role of her brother, and that role would go to Taron Egerton for me. I think he's just got everything of Human Torch needs. To describe Human Torch bluntly, really, is basically a cheeky twat but charming at the same time is probably the best way to describe Human Torch. And I think Taron Egerton is really quite good at that, at playing, let's be honest, twats, but likeable twats at the same time. And he's really good at doing that kind of role where he can play Human Torch, and he can play Human Torch in that kind of way of being a bit of an arse, basically, but at the same time very likeable. And I think he's really good in that kind of role, really. And for the next one is The Thing. Now, The Thing for me, I'm going to say right now, I'd be happy if they confirmed that The Thing was just a stuntman in a CGI suit and that was it, and they just got a voiceover for it later. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they probably will get obviously an actor, and I think Corey Hawkins would be good for this kind of role. I think you also age-wise he fits with the rest of them. I find him quite a charming guy actually as well. When you watch him in interviews, I really quite like him, and he's got quite a good kind of voice as well actually, and I think they could really kind of progress that voice onto obviously the Thing. Obviously with some changes obviously to it, but you know, I think overall you would be quite good, and I think this would be a good the actors. See, I think they would work well together. I think they would gel well together. I think it would be a good group, these four together for me. And obviously talk about the supporting characters that I would like to see. Obviously Alicia Masters was always a big supporting character in Fantastic Four, and I like Kristen Bell to play this role. I think she's got the kind of everything kind of ticks for a character of Alicia Masters, because, you know, some could say she's a bit of a kind of a bit of a blah character, and I could understand that, but, you know, I think there's a lot more to that character, obviously, to connection to the Thing, and, you know, that character development for the Thing's character, and I think she would be really good for that kind of role, and she's quite good at that kind of heartwarming kind of, I think, role, and I've probably used this word a lot already, charming, very indeed, and so. Another character, well, not really, I guess, a character you could say, but it's been someone we've not actually seen before in the movies, by rights. I remember there was a deleted scene for the first Fantastic Four movie, but that's of Herbie. I would like to have, this is what I'm talking about, I'd like to have this Fantastic Four being quite a more sci-fi movie than we've had before, and I think the inclusion of Herbie would be a good example. Very much the R2D2 to Luke and the Fantastic Four, very much that kind of relationship there. And the voice, obviously here, I'd like to be played by Bill Hader. I think he would do a pretty good job here. That good old classic line I keep saying, but it's true here. I think a good example of why I think he would be good here is when you listen to his voice, just works so well actually with Alpha in the Power Rangers movie. I thought that was actually quite spot on casting there, and I think he would do quite a likeable, lovable voice here, and I think he's got it here to do that, said justice to that kind of role. And another kind of supporting kind of character I would have is of Frankie Ray, who would become Firestar in the kind of later kind of stuff, and I'd have her played by Amanda Seyfried. I think there's not enough of her. I think you know, I don't know why, I really like her, and I think there's not enough of her on screen, and I think she would fit this kind of role. I don't think in the first movie would have her this character in it much, but I think in future down the line, especially with connections with Galactus, I think you could do some really kind of fun stuff with there. And lastly, onto like another kind of supporting character of Wyatt Wingfoot, a character we've never really seen before again in the movies, but here I'd like to be played by Noel Clarke. Someone again, you know, it's like I don't think we get enough of, and I really want to see more of Noel Clarke in movies, and I think he would give quite a good role to this kind of character here, and I would have little connections where he was a SHIELD agent. I think that'd be quite fun to have, and stuff like that. And this character I want kind of as the kind of, almost the main character of that first Fantastic Four movie. He's the kind of our point of view of seeing these characters, and that's what I'd quite like to see indeed. And on to the villains. Obviously this is the big one, because Fantastic Four actually has some pretty damn good villains. Let's talk about the big one first of all, of Doctor Doom. For me, that is Javier Bardem. I would like to see play Doctor Doom. Now I'm going to say right now though, if I got told that Doctor Doom was going to be like a bit of a Vader, where it was just a stuntman and they got some great voice, I would be more into that, to be honest. But the world we live in is not that case. We would probably find nowadays. But also I want to say Doctor Doom wouldn't be the main villain of the first movie. I want to say that main villain for me would be the Wizard. I want to see in that kind of role for the first one. Oh, the Wizard and probably the Skrulls, I'd like to say for that one. And the Wizard I would have played by Damian Lewis. I think he would be good in this kind of role, in that kind of theatrical kind of, maybe a little bit over the top of that kind of role, and I would like that. There's nothing wrong with over the top sometimes. Super Skrull obviously you probably be more kind of in line to see as the villain, played by Vincent Cassel. Obviously, this is going to be a role where, you know, it is going to be more makeup and CGI, but, you know, you still want someone that can, you know, deliver through it. You know, Andy Serkis is a good example of that with Gollum. You know, if we didn't get someone like Andy Serkis, would Gollum be as liked? Probably not. So you want someone that can, you know, really perform out of that kind of the CGI. And yeah, so they would probably be like more looking at the main villains of the film. Super Skrull being built up for maybe the sequel, while Doctor Doom built up more maybe for the third one, say, but for instance. But like, I think Doctor Doom's role, I would want to see in the first one be like very much like Darth Vader in Rogue One. You have like a wee scene that maybe at the end maybe have a little bit of fun like there, because I quite like the idea of Doom thinking that there's Skrull already around in the world, and he's like kind of doing his own little investigations. I quite like that kind of like stuff. They did it for the Earth Mightiest Heroes animated show, The Avengers, and that was really quite good. I really enjoyed that. So that'd be interesting if they went. And some other kind of like villains. Mole Man is another one. Let's be honest, Danny DeVito would be kind of perfect for that kind of role. Yes, basically the Penguin. A couple other kind of characters, obviously Namor as well as another one. He's kind of, you can see a villain, but then also kind of slash. He does become more of a hero later on. But I'm probably more like to see him as a villain first. But if I'm honest, I don't particularly like Namor. I don't really like any water-based characters. Aquaman is not really a fan of. I think any water-based characters, I don't know why, I've always found them sluggish and annoying, and I've just never really liked them. But obviously, I think I would imagine maybe Namor maybe would appear. Obviously, Universal apparently has the rights to Namor, so that might not actually be the case. But I would like to see Luke Evans if that was the case, to play Namor. I think he's, again, I think that's they're quite. I like those kind of and I do like Luke Evans as well. I think he is quite good, and I've always quite like to see more of him. I don't think again we see enough of Luke Evans. I could always see more. Yeah, I would probably like to see, as I says, if that would even happen. I don't know with the Universal rights. I know I've heard like apparently they still own that, so I think there might be a bit of a problem there. And obviously another big casting of Silver Surfer. Now this one I like to see played by Zachary Quinto. I'm not the biggest fan of Zachary Quinto. I'm not really big on his Spock, but I think his build and his voice would work actually really well with Silver Surfer. Zachary Quinto's quite good at doing that very soft spoken kind of voice, and I think he would really be quite spot on with Silver Surfer. I really like Silver Surfer. He's quite a big character to me. I've always quite liked him. So I think they could do with someone like him. I think it would be quite a good bit of casting there, I think, there. And also Galactus is the big one. Now, I would like to see Galactus a bit like Thanos. I want to see Galactus be like the end big villain. I think that would be quite a good idea to do, because who do you go after Thanos, really? I guess, to me, it is Galactus, really, you go after. Maybe Doctor Doom, I guess, but Galactus, to me, is like the next step, really, you go. And to me, that voice, if here's hoping he'd hopefully maybe still be alive, but as James Earl Jones, you know, it's no point in line, the guy's 87, and, you know, it's going to be a while more, I think, to actually see, really, Galactus. But, you know, his voice is just perfect for Galactus, James Earl Jones. But, you know, if we had to have someone else, I do think Keith David would also be a good shot there, you know. If anything, actually, Keith David maybe would probably be actually better, actually, to be honest, because Keith David always just has that really deep voice. But I always thought Keith David would be good as Tombstone and as a Spider-Man villain. But, you know, if we're talking just purely on the voice, I think he would do a really good performance as Galactus, I think, for that one there. And yeah, that's kind of my fan cast here. And obviously, you know, there is obviously other kind of like characters I could have talked about, but there's nothing really I could really think. That's like the main ones that I would like to kind of see. And as I say, I want the main villain of the first one maybe to be Wizard, and the Frightful Four maybe do that kind of stuff. I would have loved to have seen Claw in it, but apparently he's dead now after Black Panther. Hopefully something might happen there. But and then maybe the second one do the Super Skrull, and the third one do Doctor Doom full on, that kind of stuff. I would quite like to see that kind of progression happening. Or maybe have Doctor Doom an Avengers movie. I wouldn't be shocked in seeing that, to be honest. But and then I want to talk about the after credit scenes, because there's a couple of things I'd quite like to talk about. The first one I want to say is, the first after credit scene I want to see is the Human Torch just flying in New York, and it kind of lands down, and then that's where Spider-Man appears, and then their kind of friendship. I want to see their friendship happening, and I think it'd be fun in an after credit scene there, and then they kind of have like a wee bit of a race together. because you know, in the comics they have a quite a strong friendship, those two, and I'd quite like to see that. And I'd also like to see little kind of like nods of, you know, maybe Spider-Man joining the Fantastic Four as well. I think that could also be quite fun. And then like another after credit scene. This is the only time I want to see Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four first movie, is at the end and seeing him being born from Galactus, you know, with a beam of light, and he's kind of like born. I would like to see that only through the after credit scene there. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see. That's kind of like my cast of the Fantastic Four. Hopefully it'll happen. Hopefully soon. I mean, they're still going through the whole kind of Fox and Disney kind of. You know, it's a funny one. It's a hard one. You know, because it shortens down the whole. The media world with Disney now owning Fox, you know, in a perfect world, I wish it was literally all they took from Fox was just the X-Men Fantastic Four and that was it. But you know, obviously this is not happening. But yes, this is what I like to see in Fantastic Four. Right, big fun, you know, space adventure with Fantastic Car. I want to see that Fantastic Car in there. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to know what you guys think. What would you like to see in the Fantastic Four MCU cast? More videos in the future. So until then. See you later.